Hello my friends, all over the world, wherever you are. Today I'm making a juice with my favorite 3 ingredients, celery, beets, and carrots, and a few other ingredients thrown in for good measure. Let's take a look at all of my ingredients. In addition to my beets and celery and carrots, I have 100 grams of turmeric, 100 grams of ginger, 3 avocado pits, and I'll bet you didn't know there was nutrition in avocado pits that most people throw away. I have 1 green bell pepper and 4 cucumbers. So let's make some juice. Now before we make some juice, I'm going to point out that we're using the front-loading feed tube that makes all other juicers obsolete. The way the front-loading feed tube works is if you have any blowback, it hits the angle and bounces back and forth, and the kinetic energy is removed. So you have zero blowback. I'm also using the near zero blowback cutter that shreds produce 4 degrees cooler. So let's install the cutter. Now the first thing I'm going to do is feed in 3 or 4 ice cubes. And one of the advantages to the Whole Health Foundation model juicers is the thermometer, which I'm going to plug into the side. And there are a few people that claim a thermometer is not necessary, but use your own judgment. Believe me, a cutter rotating at 3,500 revolutions a minute creates friction, and this is the only juicer on the market that uses a thermometer. So let's cool down the cutter and the feed tube. I'm going to start with my beet tops and my celery and put all my greens through first. Next we'll put the celery through. Now, celery is one of the most fibrous vegetables you can shred. And I notice my motor's working very hard, so what I'm going to do now is clean the grid. Now hold the grid in the palm of your hand like so. Scrape off the pulp on both sides. Reassemble and continue. Now what I'm going to do is put my ginger through. Ginger is also very fibrous. Clean the grid again because avocado pits and turmeric and ginger are very fibrous. And before I do the rest of my turmeric, I'm going to put in some ice cubes to cool down the feed tube. Now after the ice cubes and the turmeric, I'm going to clean my grid again. Scrape both sides. Next, I'm going to put my beets through. Beets. Now that I've finished with my greens, I'm going to put my carrots through. Continue with my carrots. My last 2 carrots. And I want to point out another little tip. If you have any puddling down here, just take some pulp from inside your bowl, and that will absorb any juice that's puddling down below the feed tube. And another thing, you can look in here to see if there's any unshred produce. And usually there's a plug of carrot down here, so again, put in a couple of fingers full of pulp and push any produce through that might be down there that you don't see. Now the next step, of course, is to clean the feed tube, the grid holder, reassemble, mix your pulp, and make some juice. Unplug the thermometer, remove the feed tube. Now that I've cleaned my feed tube, I want to point a couple things out. You always put the cutter up top with the hole down so you have drainage and air circulation. Never leave your cutter on the feed tube. And also, after you clean your grid and grid holder, put it back in. And now we're going to mix the produce. You want to turn your bowl in both directions so you get a really thorough mix. You want as homogeneous a mix as you can get. And I want to point out, whenever you have carrots in with your pulp will not stick to the cloth. If you're doing only green juice or only fruit juice, you want to use bamboo liners. And the bamboo liners will prevent pulp from sticking to your cloth. But as I mentioned, if you have carrots in your pulp mix, you do not need a bamboo liner. You only need that for green juice or fruit juice. Now I'm going to give you another little tip about your cloths. We're doing my 6 cloth less work method. So you want to pull your container out so your cloths don't touch the countertop, and there's some space here for putting your filled cloths. So let's put 3 scoops in each cloth. That's approximately a cup and a half. Not more than 3 scoops. And we're going to press 2 cloths at one time, not more than 2 cloths. And this is very important. Centered, left to right, centered front to back. You notice how you can reach in here and center it all the way back and back it off a little, because you don't want this to go up too fast. And continue preparing cloths. Now when you're on your last cloth, advance that all the way. And here's my 6 cloth less work method. This goes forward, this goes over, and your spent cloths go on top. And later, I'm going to show you how to get 10% more juice. You never throw away your pulp until the very, very end. So centered left to right, centered front to back, reach in there and make any adjustments you need to, all the way back it off a little bit. And we'll continue. Now, I want to point out that if there's puddling in your bowl, you take your pulp, crush it up, and put it in the puddle to absorb any juice that's in your container. Then we're going to continue with 3 scoops again. And again, when you have puddling in your bowl, take your pulp, crush it up, put it in the puddle to absorb that juice. And because we have a small batch, I'm going to mix this now. And 3 scoops again into the cloth. Now there's another method where you don't put the pulp back in because we have no more puddling, and I'll show that to you next. So advance it all the way when you're on your last cloth. You notice you get into a rhythm. It's kind of intuitive. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. I'm going to fill these from the back side so the camera gets a good angle. And notice that I'm leaving 10% because I'm going to top this off with filtered or distilled water. Now I use distilled water because I have a water distiller, but you can use bottled water, you can use filtered water, and you can even use tap water if you have a good water system in your municipality. And we're back to make more juice, so pull your tray forward, make sure it's on the press plate properly. If not, you'll damage your tray. So 2 more cloths full of pulp in the tray, centered left to right, centered front to back. Make any adjustments you need to, all the way back it off a little.
And we'll continue with 2 scoops on top of the spent pulp. The spent cloths go on top, and we continue. Now, one thing I want to point out is my cloths are starting to squirt at me a little bit, and that's an indication that there's too much fiber in the cloths and they need to be laundered. So I'm going to switch to a new set of cloths on my next juice. And this is a small batch of juice, so I'm going to put all of the rest of this pulp in here. And I'm going to use a spatula because most of this precious pulp came from my garden and I don't want to waste anything. Right, this goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. But now I'm going to repackage the spent pulp and show you how you can get over 10% more juice using a Whole Health Foundation model juicer. So centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back, back it off a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this spent pulp, form it into a tight package, and I'm going to use a special folding technique here to fold this under several times, as many times as you can, in both directions. And I'm going to set that aside. Notice how I fold it under. Flatten it, set it aside, advance that all the way and continue with refolding. Now, my friends, as you can see, I've repackaged the spent pulp. You do not throw it away. And I've repackaged into a very tight package. And I'm going to use a 20-ounce measuring beaker to show you how much extra juice we can get using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Juicer. And that's due to the solid bottom plate that will never break, and it enables you to leave your press up indefinitely. You can leave it up all day if you wanted to. So all the way back, I'm going to back it off a little bit, turn this on. And as soon as I get juice flow, I'm going to advance that all the way. Keep your eye on the container. Now there we have 20 ounces, but it's going to overflow, so I'm going to stop this, and I've still got 2 packets to press. So what I'm going to do now is pour this into the collection container. Oh, there's way too much. And let's press the last 2 packets of pulp. So we had 20 ounces. I'm going to put this into a different container so we can get an accurate measurement here. So 20 ounces plus how many more? Well, there's another 5 ounces, so we have 25 ounces by repressing the already spent pulp after we repackage it into a tighter package. Well, there's 6 ounces now, so we got 26 ounces more juice by repackaging and pressing the already spent pulp. So let's fill more bottles. Now I've got 11 bottles from this small batch, and I'm going to top it off with distilled water. Well, my friends, here we have 5, 10, 11 bottles of juice from this small batch. And remember that 2 of these bottles came from pressing the already spent pulp that most people would throw away. So don't throw away your pulp. Repackage it, press it again if you have a Whole Health Foundation model juicer. And if you don't, I can sell you the appropriate bottom base plate to improve your juicer. And I also have enough for a taste test. So let's do a taste test. Now, before I do a taste test, I want to show you what most people forget to do, and that's to clean the upper plate. And then I'm going to press the water out of these cloths that are starting to squirt at me. I'm going to set them aside and do laundry later and switch to a new set of 6 cloths. So let's press the water out. Now, normally, if my cloths were still good enough to use again, I'd put them in a plastic bag in the freezer, but these are going to go on the clothesline and I'm going to switch to a new set of cloths. So now let's do a taste test.
Well, my friends, there you have one of my basic formula. Carrots, beets, and celery, plus a few other ingredients from my garden. Let's give it a taste. Ah, delicious. It definitely has a strong carrot beet taste with a little hint of celery. Well, I hope you like what you've seen, my friends. If you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to call me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. I'll see you in the next video.